Apartheid, a degrading social construct that saw millions of South Africans living in abject poverty, injustice, and oppression, was finally abolished in 1994 after much deliberation and struggle. The victory birthed a new democratic dispensation that many believed would usher in a new era of peace and prosperity. However, 28 years later, the country sits on a precipice of economic and social decline. The country is mired in a political, social, and economic crisis that has left many trapped in the dark abyss of uncertainty. The greatest casualty of the crisis is the youth, who have been left to fend for themselves, and are now at the mercy of a state entangled in a web of governance issues, stained with rhetoric discourse that has failed to address basic human rights. Whilst the youth may be fixated upon the socio-economic challenges, it becomes imperative that history becomes a beacon of hope even for the most seemingly defeated. It is from history where wisdom is extracted by those who are left behind to create lasting legacies. What can we deduce from the June 16th holiday? In 1976, a group of courageous youth rose and demanded justice from the then state, consequently bringing into light the atrocities of the apartheid government. On the day, countless tragedies took place, including the loss of life on the streets. Despite the obvious dangers of challenging the state, the youth of that season were determined and courageous enough to do whatever it took to challenge the status quo. The lives of the youth who participated in the events leading to the 16th of June events were not same again. The price was high. A price that shook the world to its moral foundations, where once again the world stopped and paid attention to the atrocities taking place in South Africa. The ripple effects of the 1976 movement were not just felt globally, but they transcended the epochs of time, inspiring generations to come. The moment the youth decided that their pain far exceeded the fear of losing their lives is an eternal lesson that we all must carry in our quest to live in a dignified, just society. Indeed, the changes were not immediate, but the seeds were sowed and ultimately nurtured to bear the fruits of democracy. In 1996, the Constitution, a byproduct of the democratic dispensation, was approved as the supreme law of the land, and as such was welcomed as a guiding compass towards a more prosperous, equal society. Chapter 2 of the Constitution of South Africa contains the Bill of Rights, a human rights charter that protects the civil, political, and socio-economic rights of all people in South Africa. The government's inability to attend to these basic needs, as reflected in the Constitution, is not only disheartening but also concerning. Whilst countless interventions by both the state and the private sector have failed to address the crises that plague the youth, what could these institutions of the Republic might have missed in their endeavors? SAIRAG has identified lack of good governance as a common factor. SAIRAG is an institute born out of concern regarding impeccable governance. Unfortunately, unmistakable signs of governance deterioration continues to be evident in the Republic of South Africa and has currently reached a state of crisis, with the largest contingent of the country, the youth, bearing the brunt. SAIRAG took a resolution that there is no better time than today to initiate a dialogue in finding youth solutions by the youth for these national challenges. If our youth are the tomorrow's leaders, it is therefore appropriate for them to start the governing process now, and SAIRAG is here today to champion that initiative by hosting this round-table discussion with the youth themselves and youth stakeholders. Ladies and gentlemen, Southern African Institute for Responsive and Accountable Governance, SAIRAG, welcomes you and your organizations to this historical event, a definite course-changing event.